In this video, we're going to take what we did in the last video, which was make a very simple game using the if to check whether your guess was the same as the word that the computer knew. And what we're going to do is add a kind of a command which makes it look so much more like a real game. Because if you remember in the last game, you simply got one guess. If it was wrong, you were wrong. If you were right, it was right. And that's not the way games work. So in this case, what we're going to do is again start off with the word and keep it as cat. And now what we're going to do is say my guess equals, and in this case I just want to put a random character in there because I actually want my guess and word to be different. Now we're not going to use an if command to start with, we're going to use a while command. While is a little bit like if, whereas it will check to see if something is true or not. Whereas when you use an if command, it only checks once and then the program continues. A while command will keep checking and keep checking and keep checking until what you say is true actually is true, and only then will the program run forward. So in this case, what we're going to say is while word is not equal to my guess, and notice I've used the exclamation equal symbol, so that's not equal to my guess, colon. I'm now going to say my guess equals input what word am I thinking of, question mark. And then what we're going to say here is if my guess is not the same as word, colon. Notice the indent, notice the space from if to the next command. I'm going to say print bad luck. Why don't you try again, like so. Now, before I go any further, what's going to happen is this. Every time I guess a word, it's going to say, is the word the same as my guess, which is what I'm going to type there. If it is not, so if my guess is not the same, it's going to print bad luck. Why don't you try again? And it will go back to the top and run this line again and just say, what word am I thinking of? Again, it will check. Is it the same? It's not. It will print that and go back to that line over there. We can get out of this by simply doing an else and saying print you guessed correctly. Now you might be thinking, well, how does it know you guessed correctly? Well, the only way that this line over here, this else and this print will work is if this is not true. So if I ever guess the word and it is the same as my guess, then that is not true. So it is the same. It will skip everything and jump directly down to the else and print, and you guessed it correctly. So let's try this game and see what happens. So it says, what word am I thinking of? Obviously, dog. Bad luck. Why don't you try again? What word am I thinking of? And this is going to repeat until I actually guess the animal that it's thinking of, which in this case is cat, and it says you guessed correctly. So a while loop, and that's what we call it, it's a loop because you go around and around and around until you break the loop. And the only way you can break a while loop is to make sure that whatever condition you've set, so in this case, word cannot equal my guess, that loop will keep running until the word is the same as my guess, and it will break the loop and print that line over there.